saw flowers. Remember somewhere the unions sewing, our wages going to feed the kids and run the house. We work hard, but who's complaining? When through the ILG we're paying our way. Remember, look for the union label. It says we're able to make it in the USA. Woo! Do a rundown of my clothes really quickly, and then we'll move on. This was made right here in Chelsea. My friend Catherine dyed this using a Japanese method called shibori, I think it is. Anyway, so that's made in New York. This guy, write it down, Courtney, Washington. They have a store in Brooklyn. Not only made in New York, but black-owned business. Let's support this. This is a strange time in America. Let's see. They're still in business. These guys, Dirty Snowflake from Bend, Oregon, they're out of business, but I stockpile even, like I buy dead stock from them even now. I have 10 pairs of these. Jill Anderson used to have a store on East 9th Street, amazing, incredible person. Her business was felled by real estate. That was sad, but you know, I hold on to these. My grandmother was from Russia, just like the song. She was born in 1905 in a part of Russia called Ukraine, which is now a separate country. And about 5 years later, her uncle Morris, my great-great-uncle Morris, was kind of given an ultimatum by the family. He was a young man, he liked to drink, he liked to gamble, he went with women. He was embarrassing. They lived in Proskurov. It was a very Jewish, but very, you know, they were very bourgeois. They were sort of, they lived a good middle-class bourgeois life. And this boy was embarrassing the family. So they said, shape up or ship out. And he said, bye-bye, and went to America. So about 9 years later, when my grandmother was 13, there was a pogrom that was one of the hugest ones to that time. 2,000 Jews were murdered, including some of my relatives. And my great-grandparents were like, okay, this is fun. I mean, they probably did not use that phraseology. Uncle Morris lived in the United States. Like, call Uncle Morris, or at least write. You know, everything took a lot longer then. The instantaneous rescue was about 1.5 years, 2 years later, when he came to the Polish border with Ukraine, and the 2 teenage girls, my grandmother and her older sister, were put in a wash tub in an ox cart at midnight, and slowly, slowly to the Polish border, and they smuggled them over and got them to the United States. Another thing that happened is that in 1910, my Uncle Morris came to the United States. In 1911 was the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. Fire. Bad news. Hundreds and hundreds of young girls died, and their bodies were laid out on the street. And that particular thing jump-started the union movement in the United States. Before that, it was struggling. After that, there was a groundswell of opinion, and people said, no mas. They said, this isn't good. So by the time my grandmother started working in factories, and she spent her whole career working in the garment industry. She started as a finisher, and she became an operator, and she sewed, and she helped her family have a middle-class life because she made a union wage. And, you know, at that time, when I was growing up in the 60s, my parents, my mother, when I was a child, got my clothes from JCPenney's or Sears catalog, and my grandmother made some nice clothes for me sometimes, some of which I appreciated and some of which I was like, Grandma, because I was turning into a real little snotty, listen, I'm a shopper. You know, I kind of went from JCPenney's to Bergdorf Goodman. I don't know what happened. So you know, imported clothes were great, you know, made in Italy, lingerie made in France, you know, Scottish cashmere sweaters. whatever, my head was full of like fantasies that I'm some kind of high-class broad. I'm not. But, I like to think I am sometimes. And so another thing that happened along the way in America, when I was a kid, 95 to 100% of clothes manufactured people bought clothes that were made in the United States. 95% of clothes people bought in the United States were made here. Almost all of them in New York. 1 million people worked in the garment industry in New York, whether they were sewing in factories, or jobbing, or selling, or repairing, or, handling. Lots and lots of people. That is so gone and so dead. Now it's under 2% in the whole country, which is why, I forgot to complete the rundown. Not as good, but still in America, American apparel, American apparel. My underwear, strictly not made in the USA, and my shoes, made in Germany, because I'm really into the Northern European comfort shoe thing, because again, I'm still that snotty, I'm horrible. So one thing that happened along the way to make this be the way it is Ronald Reagan's union busting. I mean, he had two methods of union busting. One was straight out, like when he fired all the air traffic controllers. That was something we've never recovered from. And the other was engendering just a parabolic rise in outsourcing. And what that means is clothes got a lot cheaper. I mean, personally, I love clothes, so I will keep them until they drop in rags off my body. I don't need to start them as rags. I don't need disposable fashion. If I buy something because I love it, I loved this whenever I got it, 10 years ago. I love it now, and I'm going to continue loving it until it drops in rags off my body. But now, with this very wasteful, disposable fashion, everything's cheaper, but you buy 100 pounds of garbage and then you throw it out, so that sucks. So, there was that. And as part of this outsourcing, this Triangle Shirtwaist Factory that galvanized this nation to say no more. Now, there's a Triangle Shirtwaist Factory every month or so, except it's in Bangladesh and it's in Nepal, and nobody gives a shit. And that is a thing that is undercutting us, it undercuts the planet, and this is a problem that we're all going to need to address. So, my grandmother, in addition to working in a factory her whole life, was a very, very beautiful, beautiful woman. And she also had talents. She was a singer, and she was never trained, but she had a beautiful voice. And she used to sing professionally, semi-professionally, for the union, for working circle. And this is one of the recordings I have of her. She came to this country, and that gave me life. And I thought I would be here forever. It's the United States, and now I'm not really so sure. Honestly, when the chief of strategy is a self-avowed white supremacist, I have to say to myself, what is the strategy? And I'm not leaving. I am not leaving. I'm not leaving yet. But as a Jew, born of Jews, I was always taught to at least mentally have my bags packed. I am not leaving. Yes. But I think I'm going to have this private door.